When I was 20, my family relocated 2 states away without informing me. They left a note that read, "You'll sort it out." 9 years later, after I built a life without them, they tried to reconnect. At 20, I returned to an empty apartment, finding only a note on the kitchen counter. It was the harshest thing I'd ever read, simply stating, "You'll sort it out." I couldn't understand what I'd done to deserve it. I assumed they were done pretending to care for me, but in reality, they'd never even tried to fake it. When I was 16, I baked a birthday cake for my mother from scratch, only for her to call it lumpy. At 18, I helped my brother study for his exams, yet he labeled me a know-it-all and slammed his door in my face. At 19, I handed over my entire paycheck to my father to help with expenses, only to be scolded when I mentioned it later, after he called me worthless. I was always useful, never cherished. My parents and brother, my only kin, packed up and moved 2 states away, leaving me behind without a word. The landlord broke the news a week later, informing me I had 7 days to vacate since they'd terminated the lease early. I stayed at a friend's place for 3 nights until I ran out of options. Soon, I was sleeping in a storage unit I rented with my last bit of savings. I snuck into the YMCA to shower, ate peanut butter straight from the jar for every meal, used library computers to apply for jobs, and acted like everything was fine. Eventually, a diner hired me for the night shift. The manager was stern but fair, paying me cash until I could get proper ID. Once, when I nearly fainted from exhaustion, she let me rest in the staff room. I pushed through, bought a cheap phone, kept every receipt, and watched free online videos about budgeting and ambition. That first year was brutal, but I survived. A turning point came when a diner regular offered me a temporary gig organizing office records, paying 3 times my server wages. I jumped at the chance. That job led to others. I learned fast, arrived early, and asked questions. By 25, I was freelancing full-time. By 27, I started a consulting firm, just me, a folding desk, and a borrowed computer. By 28, I had 5 employees, my own office, and clients I'd once only dreamed of. By 29, I was a millionaire. Not a social media mirage or a flashy facade, real wealth, with savings, a retirement plan, no debt, a paid-off condo, and affordable health insurance. When my banking app first showed 7 figures, I wept. Through all those grueling years, my family never reached out, not once. I once saw my brother in a suggested contacts list online. He's married now, still in the state they fled to. I stared at his profile, wondering if he ever told his wife about me, if he claimed I'd run away, or if he stayed silent. Sometimes I wonder if hating them would have been simpler. But it wasn't hate, it was heartache. I started therapy to stay whole. I made a list of people who helped me when they didn't have to, colleagues, peers, strangers who showed me true kindness. Last week, a podcast I did about overcoming family estrangement went viral. It gained 1 million views in 4 days. My inbox overflowed with messages of encouragement, gratitude, and people saying I voiced their pain. Then one email caught my eye. The subject read, "You're still our child." It was from my mother, no apology, just a brief note about hearing my story and suggesting we talk. Then came a message from my brother, "We miss you. Can we mend this?" I stared at my screen for ages before shutting my laptop. I wrestled with whether healing meant revisiting the past or forging ahead. I didn't reply immediately. I needed time to think. My therapist, Sarah, advised me to wait a week before deciding. "Give yourself room to feel everything," she said in our session. "There's no hurry." So I did. I buried myself in work, hit the gym, ate with friends, normal things. But those emails lingered, gnawing at me. I kept rereading them, closing them, reopening them. My mother's felt distant, almost formal, like writing to a stranger. My brother's was brief but seemed more heartfelt. I couldn't shake them. After 10 days, I replied to my brother with something short. "It's been 9 years. What's different now?" I sent it before I could second-guess myself. His reply came in an hour. He said the podcast opened his eyes to what they'd done. He claimed he was only 18 when they left, that he had no say, that he'd thought of me often, looked me up online a few times but lacked the nerve to reach out, and that my success made him proud. I wasn't fully convinced. If he cared so much, why wait until I was visibly thriving? I asked him that directly. His next email was longer, admitting their finances were strained. My parents' business had collapsed. His wife was expecting their second child, and medical bills were mounting. My stomach sank. There it was, the true motive. I didn't reply for a week. Then my mother sent another email with old photos attached. Me as a baby, us at the shore when I was 8 or 9, me and my brother making a snowman, moments that felt like someone else's life. At the end, she wrote, "We messed up. We want to make it right." I shared the emails with Sarah at our next session. She reminded me I held the power, could set limits, and owed them nothing. But she also said closure might help me move on, whether through reconnection or a final farewell. I nodded, but inside I was torn. Part of me wanted to tell them off, another part craved answers about why they left, and a small, foolish part still longed for their love. I chose to meet my brother first, alone, no parents, at a coffee shop in Chicago, equidistant for us. I flew in that morning, checked into a hotel, and tried to steady my nerves. I nearly backed out 3 times. But at 2 p.m., I entered the coffee shop and saw him instantly. He looked older, heavier, with thinning hair, but his eyes hadn't changed. He stood when he saw me, hesitant and awkward. I didn't embrace him. We just sat across from each other with our coffees like strangers. The first 20 minutes were agonizing, chatter about the weather, my flight, his drive. Then he began apologizing. "Anna, I'm so sorry," he said, voice breaking. "I was just a kid when it happened. I didn't know they planned to leave you until it was done. I was too afraid to challenge them." I listened, scanning his face for lies. He seemed genuine, but I'd been deceived before. I asked the question that had tormented me for 9 years. "Why me? Why was I the one abandoned?" He stared at his coffee. "They always saw you as the tough one, the self-reliant one who'd manage without them. They thought I needed them more. They convinced themselves you'd thrive alone." It was the most absurd thing I'd heard. I told him about sleeping in a storage unit, eating peanut butter for weeks, showering at the YMCA, working nights at 20. His face fell. "I didn't know," he whispered. "They said you had a plan, wanted to stay, were living with a friend's family, chose to cut ties." All lies. By the end of our talk, I was unsure what to believe. He seemed truly sorry, showed me photos of his wife and daughter, talked about his accounting job, asked about my business, and didn't ask for money, which surprised me. When we parted, he hugged me. I let him but didn't return it, standing stiffly, feeling empty. Back at my hotel, I called Sarah, recounting everything. She noted that while my brother seemed remorseful, he still painted himself as a victim, not owning his role in my abandonment. She was right. He was 18, not a child, old enough to call, email, or check on me in 9 years. That night, my mother called. I hadn't given her my number, so my brother, David, must have. I nearly didn't answer, but curiosity won. Her voice was older, rougher. She cried when I answered, saying she was proud of me, always knew I'd succeed, that I was special. I let her ramble. Then I asked, "Why me?" Her answer differed. "We were drowning in debt, Anna. We couldn't feed 3 people. We knew you were clever enough to survive. We thought you'd go to social services, find a better family. We believed we were helping you." I hung up, blocked her number, flung my phone across the room, and screamed into a pillow. The next morning, I got an email from my father. First contact in 9 years. No apology, just a sob story about their struggles, medical bills, failed ventures, my brother's wife needing surgery, and their looming eviction. At the end, he asked if I could support the family. Not one question about my life or acknowledgement of their actions. I forwarded it to Sarah with the subject, "Here it is." She called me, though it was Sunday, and we talked for an hour about boundaries, forgiveness versus reconnection, helping versus enabling, and what I truly wanted versus what I felt I should want. By Monday, I'd decided. I emailed my brother saying I was glad we met, understood his tough spot as a teen, and was open to a relationship with him and his family, but with strict boundaries. No money, no loans, no financial aid, and no contact with our parents until they fully owned their actions. His reply was swift and revealing. "I'm disappointed, Anna," he wrote. "Our parents need help. Family supports each other. You're being selfish with your success." All the guilt triggers from childhood pressed at once. I didn't reply. Instead, I booked a session with Sarah and a trip to Bali for perspective. 3 days later, my brother called, leaving a voicemail apologizing for his email, saying he respected my boundaries and still wanted a relationship on my terms. I listened twice, unsure if he was genuine or strategic. I gave him one more chance cautiously, but went to Bali anyway, 2 weeks of beaches, rice field treks, and meditation. I needed the space. Back home, I found 6 emails from my father, each more desperate. I didn't read past the subject lines. My brother texted asking for another talk. I agreed to a phone call, nothing more. It started okay. He apologized for pushing, said he'd started therapy, sounded less defensive. We discussed his kids, my business, normal topics. Then he mentioned our parents visiting him soon and asked if I'd consider meeting them just for an hour publicly. My chest tightened. "I'm not ready, David." He pressed gently but stopped when I went silent. After I called Sarah for an emergency session. She helped me see I feared meeting them not from hate, but because I still craved their approval, their love to be enough. It felt pitiful but true. I cried for an hour in her office. The next day, my brother texted that our mother was devastated I wouldn't meet, and our father planned to drive to my city anyway. Panic hit. I blocked his number, told my assistant I'd work from home, ordered groceries, and hid in my apartment like a frightened child. Wednesday, my doorman called, saying a couple wanted me but wouldn't give names. I knew it was them and refused visitors. 5 minutes later, an unknown number called. I let it go to voicemail, my father angry. "Anna, we drove 8 hours, you're acting immature. We deserve to explain." I deleted it and turned off my phone. Thursday morning, I woke to pounding on my door. Heart racing, I checked the peephole, my parents standing there like they belonged. "Anna, please," my mother's voice came through. "We just want to talk." "We know you're there," my father added. "We love you, we're sorry." I didn't open the door, just sat against the wall, trembling. They eventually left. I called security, banning them from the building. The guard asked if I needed police. I said no, just keep them out. Then I called Sarah, who came over during her lunch break with a sandwich, sat with me as I cried, and said I had every right to set boundaries, that their actions were harassment, not reconciliation. After she left, my brother emailed, furious, saying I'd shamed our parents, who were in a cheap motel they couldn't afford, desperate to see me, hoping I'd help with his wife's surgery, calling me cruel. I didn't respond. Friday, I booked a flight to Portland to visit my friend Laura, who'd let me sleep on her couch when I was homeless. I trusted her completely. As I packed, an unknown number called. I ignored it. Then my doorman said a woman claiming to be my mother was downstairs, possibly ill. I told him to call an ambulance, but I wouldn't go down. He sounded uneasy, but agreed. An hour later, I checked the lobby and left for my Uber. The doorman gave me an odd look, saying an ambulance took the woman to Memorial Hospital for chest pains. I nodded and rushed out. At the airport, my brother called. I nearly didn't answer, but did. "Mom had a heart attack," he sobbed. "She's in surgery. This is your fault for stressing her." I hung up, called Sarah, and asked if I was awful. "You're not responsible for her health," she said firmly. "This feels like manipulation. Get on your plane and take care of yourself." I did, spending the weekend with Laura, who remembered my family's betrayal and was livid for me. "They don't deserve a second of your time," she said, pouring me wine. Her support felt grounding. Sunday night, my father emailed that my mother was stable, had a stent, and would be released Tuesday, ending with, "She's asking for you. Haven't you punished us enough?" Laura, seeing it, rolled her eyes, calling it classic guilt tripping. I knew she was right, but guilt lingered. I flew home Monday, finding flowers at my door with a card. "Please call us. We're at the Holiday Inn until Wednesday." No apology, just demands. I tossed them in the trash chute. Tuesday, an unknown number texted a photo of my mother in a hospital bed, looking frail, with the message, "She might not have long. Want to live with this regret?" I blocked the number, called Sarah, who suggested a social media break and staying with a friend. I agreed, changed my number, and told my assistant I'd work remotely for 2 weeks. As I packed, my doorman called about a young woman with a child, claiming to be my sister-in-law. Feeling trapped, I told him to send her up, ready to face this. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, holding a sleeping toddler. "I'm Lisa David's wife," she said softly. "I came alone to talk, no family drama." I let her in warily, offered water. She accepted, tucked her daughter in on my couch, and spoke. "I only learned about you 3 years ago," she said. "David said you ran away at 20, cut off the family. It seemed odd, but I didn't press. Your podcast shocked me." I confronted him, and he told me the truth. I listened, unsure what to trust. She seemed earnest. "I'm appalled by what they did," she continued. "I pushed David to reach out, but I didn't know they'd ask for money. I'm mortified. Yes, I need thyroid surgery, but we're insured. Your parents are the ones in financial ruin." I asked why she came. She met my eyes. "You deserve the truth. They've told everyone you abandoned them, were unstable, stole their money, vanished. They claim they searched for you, lies to cover their actions." It hit like a blow. "How do you know?" She showed me old social media posts. My mother seeking prayers for her troubled daughter, my father saying I stole their savings, posts about hiring investigators, checking shelters, all crafted to make them victims, dated years after they left me. Lisa apologized for her unwitting role, said she'd confronted my parents, who admitted everything when she threatened to expose them. They were desperate now, their lies crumbling as my podcast sparked questions. Her daughter woke then, a sweet girl with curly hair. "This is Mia 3, Lisa said. "Another's on the way. I want them to know their aunt, but only if you want that. No pressure, no guilt, just an open door." After they left, I sat processing, then called Sarah, sharing Lisa's words. She wasn't shocked. "Abusers rewrite history to play victims," she said, asking what I wanted next. I didn't know. That night, my father emailed, angry, threatening to sue for defamation, claiming proof I stole from them, demanding I remove the podcast and apologize publicly, plus pay for reputational damage. I sent it to Sarah and my lawyer, James. James called instantly. "Empty threats," he said. "Truth defeats defamation. Save everything, don't reply. They're unlikely to sue people planning to don't warn first." The next day, my brother called, panicked, saying Lisa's visit angered our parents, who were now bad-mouthing her. He feared they'd do something drastic. I didn't know what to believe, called James, who suggested a public meeting with him present. I agreed reluctantly. We met at a restaurant near James' office. They looked awful, stressed, drained. Lisa had a bruise she tried to hide. My brother avoided eye contact. James introduced himself as my attorney, making my brother wince. They spoke, revealing a grim tale. My parents had leeched off my brother for years, moving in and out, taking money for crises, watching his kids while criticizing his parenting. When Lisa confronted them about me, my father grabbed her arm, leaving marks. My brother evicted them. They were now in a motel, harassing him at work. I listened silently, watching my brother cry as he described their lifelong control, how they convinced him I'd left them, how he was too scared to question them, trapped in their lies for 9 years, terrified they'd harm Lisa or the kids. James asked about financial ties, house deeds, bank accounts, keys. My brother admitted they'd co-signed his mortgage. His father was on his old college account. They had spare keys and knew his passwords. James took notes, glancing at me. I felt drained but clearer. This wasn't just about me. My brother and Lisa were victims too, differently but trapped. James advised them to get their own lawyer, gave them a contact, and urged immediate lock, password, and account changes. They nodded, overwhelmed but thankful. As we left, my brother hugged me. I hugged back, not forgiveness, but acknowledgement we'd both been hurt by the same people, that we might heal together. That night, I got frantic texts from my parents' numbers, accusations, threats, guilt trips. I blocked them. I called Lisa, asking if they were safe. She said they'd changed locks, stayed with friends, and were seeking a restraining order. I was relieved but anxious. The next morning, Lisa called, sobbing. They broke into our house, took Mia's photos, documents, David's laptop, left a note. "Family stays private." I told her to call the police, said I'd meet them, and called James. A police car was at their house when I arrived, the place trashed, drawers emptied, papers strewn. My brother sat defeated. Lisa pointed out missing items to an officer who doubted grandparents would break in, suggesting a key and a misunderstanding. Lisa showed her bruised arm, detailed their threats and stalking. The officer took notes but seemed unconvinced, saying proof was hard without evidence. After the police left, we cleaned, finding more missing items, photo albums, financial papers, a car key. My brother said, "This is my fault. I should have protected my family, stood up to them, found you sooner." I didn't argue but didn't add to his guilt. James arrived, grim, saying breaking and entering was serious, urging us to document everything and stay elsewhere. He'd file for emergency restraining orders. We agreed, exhausted. Lisa packed while my brother and I secured the house, new locks, checked windows, discussed cameras. It felt unreal, guarding against our own parents, but necessary. As we left, my brother got a text from our father. "We're watching you." He showed me, hands trembling. I screenshotted it, sent it to James, then invited them to stay at my secure building with cameras and a vigilant doorman. They accepted. That night we ate takeout in my living room. Mia played with her toys. We discussed restraining orders, police reports, new numbers, possibly moving, long-term safety. It wasn't the reunion I'd imagined, with a brother who'd let me be left behind, a wife who'd believed lies, and an innocent child. Yet it felt right, like facing truth together, building from our parents' wreckage. The next morning, James called. He'd filed emergency restraining orders, set a court date, reported the break-in to a detective taking it seriously, and advised staying together. I told my assistant I'd work from home indefinitely, citing a family crisis. She rearranged my schedule. I set up a workspace for my brother in my guest room. Lisa and Mia filled my living room with pillow forts and cartoons. I'd lived alone for years, valuing quiet routines but their noise. Mia's giggles, Lisa's humming, my brother's typing, felt like family, not the one that left me, but one we might create. That afternoon, my doorman reported a flower delivery. I asked for the card's message. "We know where you are, this isn't done." I told him to reject it, call police if needed, and informed James, who said it bolstered our case. I kept it from my brother and Lisa, ordered groceries, cooked, played with Mia, seeking normalcy. That night, alone in my kitchen, I let myself feel the fear, anger, grief, and faint hope, crying silently into a towel. In the morning, Lisa saw me making coffee, asked if I was okay. I lied, saying yes. She didn't buy it, sat down, and said, "It's okay to not be okay, Anna, we're not either." David cries in the shower, thinking we can't hear. Mia asks for home. "This is awful, but I'm glad we're together." I asked why she'd come to me initially, choosing me over the family she knew. She smiled sadly. "I always sensed something wrong with your parents' stories, their control over David. Your podcast confirmed it. I won't let my daughters think abandoning a child is okay." We hugged, awkward, genuine, a start, not friendship, but solidarity to break our family's cycle of harm. Days passed in a tense routine. Work, cooking, playing with Mia, checking with James, startling at noises, dreading phone calls. We were safe but uneasy, healing but learning what family meant. Friday, James called. The detective found gas station footage near my brother's house from the break-in night. Our court date was Monday. He was confident. Relieved but anxious, we braced for more. That night, a brick smashed my brother's car window in my garage. No note, message clear. Security footage showed a man in a cap, face hidden. We knew it was our father. We filed a police report, added it to our case, hid our fear from Mia. Sunday, we planned for court. Outfits, statements, evidence, how to explain our history without seeming unhinged, making the judge see the escalation, ensuring legal and physical protection. It felt bizarre discussing our parents like dangerous strangers sharing our DNA. My phone pinged, an email from my mother, subject, "Final warning." I nearly deleted it, but read the single line. "Go to court tomorrow and you'll regret it forever." I showed James, who was dining with us. He saved it, said not to reply, that it helped our case. We barely slept, checking locks, listening for sounds, wondering if we were over or underreacting, how I'd gone from abandoned young adult to successful woman to hiding from my own parents. Monday brought an odd calm. We dressed professionally, trustworthy. Lisa arranged for Mia's friend to watch her. We drove separately to court, cautious. James met us outside, confident, briefcase in hand, saying judges took threats seriously. Inside, I saw my parents near the entrance, looking older, smaller. My mother moved toward me. My father held her back. They watched us pass, silent with anger and perhaps fear. We checked in, followed James to the courtroom, sat waiting. I felt my parents sit across the room, heard their whispers, but kept my eyes forward, breathing steadily. Our case was called. We stood, took our places. James presented our evidence calmly. The break-in, texts, flowers, brick, email, our history of abandonment. The judge listened, asked questions, eyed my parents with concern. They approached the bench, no lawyer, just them. My father claimed we exaggerated, just wanted family, hadn't broken laws, loved us, and called it a misunderstanding. The judge questioned the footage, messages. My father denied it all, said it wasn't them. Texts were misread, they were victims. My mother nodded, dabbing her eyes. The judge asked about abandoning me at 20. My father faltered, spoke of troubled young adults, tough choices. The judge pressed, "Did you leave your adult child and move states?" He mumbled about hardship. The judge's face hardened. After both sides, the judge granted 3-year restraining orders. No contact, no approaching homes or workplaces, no third-party messages, violations meaning arrest. My parents looked shocked, unaccustomed to consequences. As we left, my mother called my name softly. I kept walking, feeling lighter, not healed, but starting. Outside, James said we'd done well. The orders were strong to call if violated. We thanked him, dazed but relieved, like disaster survivors. My brother hugged me tightly, sobbing, apologizing for not protecting me, believing lies, causing chaos. I hugged back, saying we'd be okay, could build something better. As we walked to our cars, my phone buzzed. An unknown numbers text with a photo of Mia playing at her friends, unaware of being watched, with 4 words. "This isn't over yet." My brother paled. He called Lisa to get Mia. I told them to meet at my place and called James, hands shaking. James said to forward the text, go home, he'd call police, it violated the order. The drive felt endless, checking mirrors, fearing pursuit. At my building, I sat in my car, steadying myself to be strong for them. Inside, Lisa clung to Mia, who looked scared. My brother paced, distraught. I showed them the text. Lisa cried, fearing for Mia. My brother, resolute, held them. James arrived with officers who took statements, viewed the text, promised patrols, and tried tracing the number. They said the right things, but I sensed they underestimated my parents' desperation. After they left, we planned. Lisa suggested a hotel under aliases, my brother a cousin's place states away. I grew furious. We'd done everything right, yet they still controlled us through fear. I stood, declaring, "I'm done running, hiding, letting them rule my life. They took my early adulthood. They won't take my future." My brother, stunned, asked my plan. I didn't know, but we couldn't live like this. That night we kept watch. I took first shift, lights off, watching the street. At 2 a.m., I saw my father's old Buick circle and park. I photographed it, woke my brother. We watched him stare at my building, not approaching, just intimidating. In the morning, James said it wasn't a violation, but to document it. Frustrated, I felt restraining orders were just paper against determined harm. Lisa and my brother took Mia to a secure hotel. I helped them pack, hugged them, promised frequent check-ins. Alone, I felt calm at a crossroads, done with limbo. I called Sarah, asking what to do. She asked, "What do you want from your parents?" Not what I feared, but what I desired. I'd never considered it. After I listed my wants, to live fearlessly, connect with my brother's family, stop feeling responsible for my parents, be free of the past. Reconciliation, forgiveness, or understanding weren't there. I just wanted freedom. That afternoon, I emailed my parents. "I know you're watching, you won't stop. Let's meet one last time. Tomorrow, noon, 8th Street coffee shop. Just me, no police, no lawyers. Then you leave us alone forever." I sent it impulsively, not telling anyone, needing to face them for myself. My father replied quickly, "We'll be there." No threats, just agreement. I prepared mentally, planning my words, boundaries. I slept well, decision made. Morning came. I dressed to feel strong, took an Uber, arrived early, picked a corner table, ordered coffee I didn't drink, and waited calmly. They arrived at noon, looking weary, older. My mother saw me, nudged my father. They approached cautiously, sat silently. We stared, these strangers, my parents, who'd shaped me in ways they'd never grasp. I spoke first. "This isn't for reconciliation, money, or excuses. It's to make you understand it's over. You've lost me, David, your grandchildren, any place in our lives. If you keep stalking, threatening, or forcing your way in, I'll ruin you." My father tried to interrupt. I stopped him. "I'm not done." I showed them screenshots, texts, the photo of Mia, emails. "I've sent these to your siblings, church, neighbors, employers. Not yet, but I will if you contact us, come near, or mention us." My mother cried, saying they wanted family back, deserved another chance, feared dying alone. I stared. "You should have thought of that before abandoning your 20-year-old, lying about it, breaking into David's house, threatening your grandchild." My father snapped, calling me ungrateful, difficult, turning my brother against them, saying I owed them for raising me. I laughed in his face. "You think you deserve thanks for minimal parenting before ditching me, that your parenting was exemplary.